Okay, now that you've loaded your DNA into the gel, it's time to run the gel so you can separate your DNA by size. So the first thing you need is a power supply. And you also need the lid to the gel box. This particular lid just slides onto the gel box, and then the electrodes connect to the gel box. So remember that DNA is negatively charged, so you want to run the DNA towards a positive pole. Normally on gel boxes and power supplies, the red electrode is the positive electrode. So what you want to do then is to make sure you plug in the red electrode into the power supply in the correct slot. Now that you've hooked up the gel box to the power supply, what you need to do is turn on the power. Most power supplies you can either run at constant milliamps or constant volts. In this case, we're going to run at constant volts. One thing you want to make sure of is that not to run the gel at too high of a voltage, because if it gets too hot, it can melt the agarose. In this case, we're going to run the gel at about 120 to 130 volts. The other thing that you have to think about is how far you want to run the gel. And that's going to be determined by the percentage of the agarose that you use, and also by the size of the DNA fragments that you want to separate in the gel. In most cases, you want to run the gel until your loading die is about halfway to 3/4 of the way down the gel. Once the gel has run as far as you want it to run, then you need to turn off the power supply before you remove the gel. So first, turn off the power to the power supply. And then before you remove the cover, make sure you unplug the electrodes as well. Now that the power supply is turned off, you need to remove the gel from the gel box and prepare the gel for staining. So with this gel box, you slide off the lid of the gel box first. And then the easiest way to transfer this to a staining tray is to take out the whole gel tray. And if you do this, make sure that you hold both ends of the gel tray so the gel doesn't slide out and onto the countertop and break. So all you need to do now is just have a gel tray that you can transfer the gel into. And in this case, all we're going to have is a gel tray that has water, not the stain yet.